All right. So now that we know, our guest, our special guest, he's worked in Ghana, he's worked in Congo, he's been to Tanzania, he's been to Australia, in and out, and then now we are blessed to have him. He's working at a mine in Ghana. We are blessed to have one of our own serving. For me, it's a privilege because this is my brother, so you know it's a family affair on this set. But we'll try to live out the family aspects so that we can discuss principles.
Yes.
He and I can have conversations for hours just discussing principles and these kinds of things. So you are just going to enjoy yourself. I will just move myself off the way and then he will. But since we are talking about principles for accelerating to the top, I just want us to first and foremost clarify when we talk about the top, when we talk about one achieving success, what does that mean? What will be the definition for success that we can all agree so far as we are discussing the principles for getting there? What will be the definition for success so far as we are concerned? Can you help us?
Look, I think, you know, when you started talking about this sort of masterclass, and I think one of the things that we had a very robust engagement about is whether to use the term secret or principles. You know, I sort of think that I didn't like the term secret because then it becomes too, you know, mysterious and only for certain people. But I think a principle is more about something that works. So far as you are consistent and diligent to it, it will work for you. Look, to me, success, all of us would define success different. You know, someone's success might be different from another person. Okay, I will probably say, you know, others will look at me and say maybe you are successful because you are the MD, or as a young guy you rose into this level, but that might be different for me as far as success is concerned. Okay, another person, his success might be something that has to do with you know, rising to a certain level in an organization. Whatever your success is, you need to understand it and define it for yourself. We all need to define our success. I define a success as, you know, the first thing that I normally think about success is, my definition of success comes from the point of view of the Bible. Okay, so I define success as finding Christ, you know, and once I find Christ, I think that from there onwards, I'm living the life of success. You know, one thing is that you cannot live a life of failure or have a failing mentality and think you will ever stumble into success. It won't work. You know, you need to live life from a point of success. You need to see yourself as successful, and then you live in success. Okay, because it all starts from your mindset. Maybe we'll touch on that mindset issue, but you know, your mindset is quite critical in everything that you do. Okay, and that definition of success will have to be about what you really value. What is it that you value? And when you reach a particular milestone, maybe to me, being a managing director for Iduapriem mine or wherever I've held positions, to me was milestones in my life. I've not really hit where I want to reach in terms of the key milestone that I want, but all these various milestones in my career, I cherish them. And sometimes you need to know where you're going, and then you need to know what are the milestones that you need to be achieving, and celebrate the milestones, you know, that you achieve. Don't just walk past it. If you don't know where you are going, you will not be able to know whether you've gotten there or not. And then everybody's journey becomes your journey. Most of the time, I think that we embark on other people's journey and not our journey. You know, so where do you want to go? Where do you want to see yourself within the next 3 to 4 years, the next 5 years, the next 10 years? It has to be defined by you, and it has to be deliberate. It has to be deliberate. It has to be conscious. It has to be something that you put effort in and think through it and get it done. Okay, so a journey to the top or success to me, it's relative, and I think everyone listening to me will have to define what is success for him or her as well. I will never be able to define what is success to you. To you, a success will be reaching a certain goal in your career. Another person's success will be maybe, losing weight can be a success.
Yeah.
That this year, this is what I want to do within the next 3 years, this is what I want to achieve. But the good thing is that once you've defined what success is to you, stick to it. Stop following other people's success, because that is what distracts a lot of people. If you focus on your success, you will be able to get there.
Nice one. So for each one, then what you are saying is that we should have an image of what success means. And once we get that, we should let that be our guide in terms of what it is that we do. Then we don't look at the other person, we don't look at other people and use their standards to measure ourselves. So someone may be pursuing putting on weight, and that is the standard that they want to achieve. Another person may be looking at losing weight. So the same weight, someone wants to gain, another person wants to,
Exactly.
So if you look at what someone is doing, then you're going to have a problem. But you touched on another aspect that relates to the mind. The fact that you should have a certain state of mind. And can you just go a bit into that for us? What is the mindset that we're supposed to have?
Yeah. Look, if there's anything that I would say that has probably contributed to milestones that I've achieved, or for want of a better word, success, it's more about the mindset. And when we talk about mindset, we are not talking about speaking positive things only. It's also about the environment that you create. See, a mindset is an environment that you create to be able to thrive in it. Okay. You can't just talk positive when you have a negative environment. Okay. It won't work. So you need to deliberately create your world with a certain set of ideas and mindset or thought process that guides what you do. Okay. So I'm not calling you to talk positive only, but also to create that environment. Okay. What is it that you allow to influence your mind? You see, your mind is, to me, it's made up of two key things: your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. Your conscious mind is what you allow to enter into your subconscious mind. So you can turn your conscious mind as a gateway to your subconscious mind.
Okay.
So you have the right to accept or reject a particular information that comes. Okay, and that's what mindset is about. So to me, if I hear a certain information, or I'm in a certain situation, it is me to accept that situation or reject it. Okay. You can't accept anything. The moment you accept it, it just, becomes part of you. So you need to first of all define that mindset that you need to have. And that mindset will require you having a specific environment that you create around you to accept specific things that comes to you. For example, if you are now building your career, you've started a career, there are a lot of times that people will come and say, Daniel did it this way and it didn't work, so don't do it this way, or don't go that way. It's up to you to accept the guy's recommendation. Okay. You can accept it or reject it. You hear news about everybody is losing his job. Nobody can get to the top. If you're a black person working in a white-dominated environment, there's no way you go to the top. I don't accept that. You see, I don't accept that, because the moment I allow that becomes my mindset, and that becomes the limiting criteria on everything that goes on within that organization. So yes, you get a lot of people, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, you see. Because you think that in that organization, if you are not a white person, or you are not a certain type of person, you will not get a job. that really becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Indeed, you won't get it because that's your mindset. So you become an offspring of your thoughts and your thinking. So you are not different from the way you think. Okay. So if you want to really have a different direction in your life, it has to start from the mind. The way you think, your mindset has to change. It doesn't matter the principles that we're going to expound on this platform or whatever books you've read. If your mindset doesn't change, nothing will change. You are not different from the way you think. So if somebody is struggling with career progression in his organization, change your mindset. It is your mind, your thought process. Because if your thinking is that if I don't know anybody, I can't move on, then exactly what you become. You see? So let us change our mindset, and to me, that's what has guided me. Whether I went to Australia or not, I saw it to be indifferent. It doesn't matter where I find myself in the midst of, white colleagues or whatever. I see myself as whatever I can deliver. I am confident about what I can do, and I don't see that intimidating me at all, because my mindset is that whatever I allow to become a constraint on my mind will be a limiting factor on me. You might be thinking about, how do I move from point A to B? Start from you understanding that you can get there and start working on what are the things that you need to be able to get there. Okay. For example, in my career, most of the time, I would dream or visualize where I want to go. It doesn't just happen. I'll be visualizing it. Okay. Even in positions that I want to occupy, I see myself in that role. I mean, the next role that I want to be in, I visualize it. And I have time to visualize it maybe once a week, spend some time, especially on Saturdays that I'm not busy, I will visualize myself in that role. Because I need to be able to implant that in my mindset. Okay. Because if you cannot see yourself there, you can't have it. Even if you get there, it is lack. And because it's not going to be sustainable for you to be there, because you did not really, it's not part of your DNA. It's not part of your thinking. I think one motivational speaker once said that it looks like your whole DNA and every element of your body is eavesdropping on your thinking. You see?
That's interesting.
It's eavesdropping on your behavior, your internal dialogue.
And picking signals.
Your whole elements, your DNA, your cells are always eavesdropping on your internal dialogue. What are you telling yourself? Whatever you're telling yourself, they're picking the signals. And then it starts really forming you. So I can think myself into failure. It doesn't matter if my father was the richest person, placed me there. If I have a failure mindset, I will come down. It doesn't also matter whether I was born into a poor family. If my mindset is a mindset of progress and success, I will gravitate towards that particular direction in life. So mindset to me has played a very key role in most of the things that I've done in life.
I like the part where you say that it's not just about me saying positive things to myself or just positive declarations, but it's about the environment. So if this is what I believe and this is what I want to see manifested, it means that there are some things that I'm supposed to begin doing, or that must begin to manifest in my environment. And since these thoughts are energy, right? These thoughts are energy, then it means that they are going to attract what is supposed to accompany what I'm thinking, so that the manifestation of it is then enhanced by whatever the thought, the energy from the thought and the mindset is attracting. And I'm happy you are bringing this out, because sometimes there is a dissonance. There is a kind of a disagreement between what we believe and how we conduct ourselves even in what we believe. So someone is told that you will conquer the land, and then they see themselves as grasshoppers, even in that land that they are supposed to conquer. So they're supposed to manifest a certain behavior, a certain attitude that is supposed to be in agreement with what is in their mind.
Exactly.
So I like that you bring this environment thing. Dear friend, if you are with us on this discussion, we are just diving into what it is that the principles that we want to discuss. Now, we started by going through our special guest and his journey, the career journey, the different places that he's worked, and he has pointed out clearly that a distinguishing factor for him has been his mindset. And it does not matter where he's working, whether he's working in Ghana, he's working in Congo, or he's working in Australia. That does not matter. It is about what he's bringing on to the table. And he has therefore endeavored himself to visualize wherever he wants to be. And he has worked at it and gotten himself there. So that mindset will be one of those things that our guest has shared. And I'm going to just ask him now, what are the other principles, apart from the thoughts process and the mindset, what are the other principles that he can share with us based on his experience? And how did those things play out in his life? And some, if you can help us, what are the other principles that have played a key role?
So one of the other principles for me has been, as I said, your ability to imagine yourself, okay, in whatever position or whatever aim you want to achieve. Okay, don't let us trivialize imagination. Sometimes, most of us, we use our imagination as a destructive tool to ourselves. Okay, instead of making it a constructive tool for you. Your imagination is the most powerful thing that you can ever have. As we sit here, I can imagine myself in Australia, US, without going through a plane. I don't need a flight to go there. I can imagine. All I need to do is to have a pictorial point to carry myself on. Okay, so I can imagine myself in my room in Australia. I can imagine myself in my room wherever. So your mindset is a powerful tool. But most of us, we use it to our detriment because we think negatively. We imagine negative. People think themselves into fear. They imagine themselves in, what if this happened? Even before they start the thing, they imagine themselves that the thing will fail. You see? So instead of you imagining it, you know, and once you try to imagine, it's difficult because your thought process has not assimilated with that sort of foundation. One of the things that I struggle is about programming my mind to be able to accept this new thinking. Okay. Because you come from a background and there's a lot of negative things that we've seen. The uncle didn't make it. Family is difficult. Nobody has ever even graduated from university in your family. And you are the first person. So there's a lot of impossibility that surrounds you. Okay. So now to imagine yourself in a different context is difficult. But that is the beginning, the starting point of breaking through the chain or the barrier. Okay, the barrier on you. But imagination is one of the starting points.
Imagination.
You need to imagine yourself. If negative thoughts or negative imagination is coming, delete it. Okay, delete it in your mind. You can. The power is in your hands to delete it. You have the right to think the way you want to think. So if you are seeing pictures about yourself that you don't want, just don't allow it to carry on. Some people can lay in bed, can lie in bed and imagine themselves into fear. What if one day I lose my job? What if one day this happens? You know, why will you be thinking like that? God has given you this creative, imaginative tool.
Sam, forgive me for interjecting, because this thing that you're talking about, I practically have experienced that. One time I was in secondary school by then, and I was lying on my bed. It was lunchtime. I had decided not to go for lunch, and as I was just waiting for them to go and come, I decided to take a nap. Whilst I was lying on that metal bed, I started imagining, hey, what if all of a sudden everyone is gone for lunch? What if there's fire outbreak in this room? And what will happen if there's fire and I can't get out of my room, the dormitory? Who is going to help me? Who is going to come? Everyone is going to lunch. And then as I was thinking about that, you won't believe it. I don't know if involuntary or whatever, I stretched my leg and it touched the metal bed, and I felt the metal bed burning me. And I just pulled my leg. So that, just imagining that there was fire in the room and then I didn't have a way, that imagination alone got me feeling heat in the metal bed. And then when I opened my eyes, there was no fire in the room. There was nothing happening in the room. And I just couldn't help laughing at myself. But I get the point you're making, that one of the key principles for we accelerating to the top is the use of our imagination.
This book, Think and Grow Rich, that's why I like it. It talks about think and grow rich. And if you read it,
Did you just mention Think and Grow Rich? Because someone is actually asking, so now this is a recommendation. One of our participants was asking any book that you can recommend. And
okay.
So you want to recommend Think and Grow Rich?
Yeah, because this is my copy. And this, I came in contact with this particular book immediately that I graduated from university, and I happened to go to a pastor's house. Okay, and
I wish the camera could help pick this copy, and how I even want the back. Can we get it? Can we get a good view of how this book has suffered in the hands of my dear brother?
Yes. Look, I went to the pastor's house, and by that time, look, I was confused in life, and I was like, what should I do? You know, as usual, everybody who graduates from university wants to travel outside. And if those things are not happening, then you become frustrated. And I went to this man of God's house, a pastor's house, and whilst I was waiting for him, I decided to browse through his book, and I pulled his book out, and then I started reading it, and the first thing it says was, thoughts are things. Okay, and I started reading some few sentences, then I thought, no, this book is something interesting that I need to read more. So I asked the person, can I go and read it? And he said yes, and ever since the book has not gone back. And obviously, the person didn't probably see the worth of this book. It's really been tremendous for me. Because some of the principles expounded in this book are things that I saw in the Bible. But this actually brings the practical implementation for me on how do you actually get it done.
Yeah.
Okay. He made mention about thoughts. What thoughts do you entertain in your mind? Okay. He's saying thoughts are things. Isn't it that I said that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
And that is scripture.
That's scripture. So now I look at this scripture, and he's telling me thoughts are things. So whatever you think you are thinking has energy and vibration, and you are creating it. You are actually creating it. The thinking that you entertain in your mind, you are creating your future. You see, we are in this big world, but we live in different worlds. My world is different from your world.
Sure.
Okay. And another person's world is different from mine. And that's what I mean by you create an environment. That environment you are creating with your mindset is your world.
That is your world.
Okay. So in your world, you can pick and choose what you want to entertain. Same thing. If you have wrong friends who don't have the right mindset, it is up to you to allow them into your world. Okay. So if they are not adding value to your life, I'm not saying don't be friends with them, but know to what extent you can allow them into your world that you've created, so that they don't come in with that negative vibe, okay, to destroy that environment that you are in. And this particular book actually gives you that principle. How do you your thought process starts. Okay, your thinking and your imaginations are key starting point. You have to be able to say, where do I want to be? And it's not just about sitting down one day and that's it. Deliberately think about it. You need to know where you are now and define where you want to be. And sometimes when you are painting these pictures, it might sound crazy. Some of the things that I started thinking when I read this book and I said I want to be, in those days, it was crazy. You know, one of the principles that I remember in those times that I was in Goldfields was, before I even got to Goldfields, and I finished reading this book, it suggests that you do a positive affirmation, whereby you tell yourself where you want to be. Okay, and in doing that, you actually, that also reconcile with what we said, that your DNA and the elements of your body are eavesdropping on your internal dialogue.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I take this book, write down a set of things that I want to do in the future. Some of the things that I wrote, I was like, my mind was limiting me, telling me you can't get this done. You see. But I had to work on my mind and reject that, because I am the one that you accept whether I can get it done or not. One of the key things, and this is practical, I wrote in the book, I wrote down, and I started confessing every day, was that I was in 2003, was when I did that. I said in 5 years' time, I will be earning $10,000 a month. Okay.
$10,000
a month.
a month.
Okay.
In 5 years.
In 5 years. The moment I wrote that, my mind said, you are crazy.
Isn't that crazy? Doesn't that sound crazy?
You are crazy, because look, and then it gives me a data point. You see, it tells me that, look, even those that are senior managers in the industry now, those times the maximum they were taking was $2,500, maximum $3,000. And these people are people who have worked in the industry for 10 years, 15 years plus. Okay, and you are talking about 5 years, you will be earning that amount. Okay, I mean, it was crazy, but I accepted that. Okay, and I started confessing it every morning. Okay, and I started not only saying it, but I visualize it. I visualize myself in a position where I'm earning that amount.
How does it feel when you earn
You definitely have
$10,000? You started visualizing
it, and then you start attaching that sort of emotional thing, that how is that going to change your life? You see, if you don't attach emotions to it, it's very difficult for it to stay. And you're not going to start doing it today, tomorrow, and then it's done. It takes a lot of time, a lot of thinking, a lot of process. And your mind will be fighting those things because you are not programmed that way. See, you've been programmed for the past, if you are 28, 25, 30, whatever age you are, you've programmed yourself a certain way. These things become an intrusion into your sense realm. Okay, and now this is what others will call paradigm shift. You are shifting your paradigm because your mind is that I need to be this, do that, do this, and maybe in 20 years, or when I've risen to this level, that's where I'll be able to do it, get that amount. So now your mind is not calibrated to that sort of new thinking that you are bringing. So there will be a conflict, but the conflict will have to be won through your willpower and your belief system. You need to believe in it and not just confessing it or positive affirming it, but visualize it. See, when you visualize it, it is the most powerful thing to push that through your subconscious mind and become part and parcel of you. And so in 2-3 years down the line, I still kept confessing it. Okay. And then in 2008, I was there, and a friend, I wasn't even, I have even forgotten. The funny thing is this, and that's why I took this book serious. Okay. The funny thing is that I did that consistently for 3 years, and I stopped. Okay. So when I stopped, I've even forgotten that I said I'll be earning $10,000 in 5 years' time, which is 2008. And at that particular point in 2008, I think my salary was no more than $1,000. Okay. So I was there and a friend came and said, there's this rule, if you are interested, talk to the people. Okay. And that was the DR Congo job that I was talking about. Now, I spoke to the people, I spoke to the company was interested. And then we did a first interview. The people didn't really come back to me asking for salary. Frankly, if they had come back, I would never have mentioned $10,000. I'll probably, because again, I know friends who have started exporting, and I know that some of them were taking 3,000, 5,000. So the maximum even I could have mentioned is maybe 5,000. I was there, and then they sent an offer, and the offer said $10,000 a month. Okay. Then I looked at it, look at what the mind said to me, this is a scam. The mind said, this is definitely a scam.
Now that the $10,000 is coming, the mind again is playing games on you.
Exactly. You wouldn't imagine how powerful the mind is. Okay. Now the mind is saying that this cannot be true. Okay. Then I was very skeptical to even start preparation towards going to start the job, until the guys actually sent me $2,000 cash into my bank account. And I said, who is going to scam you by giving you $2,000? They are rather searching your money for your money. Okay, but the key thing is that it is that particular point that I was thinking through it and said, how can I jump from $10,000 to $10,000 a month? Then it dawned on me that don't forget that you wrote this thing down and you confessed it for 3 years. What does that mean? It means that when you start the journey, practically you might not realize it, but something is taking place that you can't afford to abort it. Okay. So then I went back to the house, took the book that I wrote in, and it is there. 5 years from now, that book is still there. I'll be earning $10,000. That is when I started taking the book serious.
More serious.
So now, guess what? I started writing more things down. In 5 years, I'll be this. And some of the rules, I write it down and start confessing it. I want to be this. And then I keep on confessing it. And it doesn't end by confessing. But you see, assume it that I start imagining myself playing that role. Okay. Playing that role. And that really gravitates me towards that. Working hard, having a plan towards it. And I start asking myself, for me to be there in 5 years, what are the things that I need to be able to operate at that level? You need to prepare yourself. The second principle, the third principle is preparation. After you have imagined yourself to be in that role, start preparing yourself that if you are in that role, how are you going to behave?
Pause. I think there is need for a pause. We'll go into preparation. But before we go into preparation, I told you my role is to tie things up and get us to appreciate some of these things that are being said. Dear friend, kindly note what has been said. Imagination. The first one is your thought, your thinking, your mindset. The second one is your imagination, your ability to imagine. And when our guest was talking about thought, he made a statement, and I just want to connect that statement to the imagination. He said that the conscious mind is the gateway to the subconscious mind. And that is where the principle of imagination comes in. So there is a certain information that you as an individual will have to pick, and as you pick and decide that this is what I want, you consciously pass that to your subconscious mind. Okay, and that is where your imagination comes in. You will have to begin to let that sink. And he made reference to you must mix it with emotion. You must mix that imagination with emotion. Begin to visualize it and begin to see how things will be when you enter into that space, when you enter into that role, when you get that $10,000 as you have written down and confessed for so many years. That manifestation, you will have to mix that imagination with emotion to let that come. It is part of it. That emotion part is also critical.